Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian here at the Navy League's annual Sea Aerospace Conference and Trade Show just outside Washington, D.C., the #1 gathering of U.S. Navy and indeed international Navy's leaders from around the world to talk about technology, budgets, policy, strategy, and more. Our coverage here is sponsored by GE Marine, Huntington Ingalls Industries, and Leonardo DRS, and we're here at the Naval Sea Systems Command site to talk to Todd Tompkins, who is the Program Manager for International Small Surface Combatants, or PMS 525, if I have that correctly. Anybody who's tracking along with NAVSEA codes, it's a real pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure for me.
So let's start, right? Pretty much the littoral combat system is, or littoral combat ship is, the small surface combatant the United States has been trying to market overseas. Obviously, some of our other surface combatants are a little bit large until they get used, in which case there's an opportunity to export them to allies and to friends. The Saudi Arabia win on the Lockheed Martin variant of the LCS was big. I was joking with you. On the other side of your card is in Arabic, and Barry McCullough, who was former retired United States Navy Vice Admiral, but also the Lockheed Martin point man for LCS International. When you guys got that deal signed, it was certainly a reward for a lot of tenacity over many years. So Todd, talk to us a little bit about what the status of that program is as it moves through the pipeline, and then I would like to sort of bridge that into who's next, because somebody had to go first and the doors that opens. But first, give us sort of an update on where we are on the Saudi program.
Absolutely. So in 2017 is when the case started. The Saudis signed the case and funded the case. That's when we initiated the development of the design of what we're now calling a multi-mission surface combatant based on the Freedom variant LCS. We're completing that design at present. We'll start construction at the end of the calendar year 2019. Looking forward to building 4 of those ships across the next 6 years. But not just ships. There's ordnance, shipload of all the ships. There's training of crew and maintainer personnel from Saudi Arabia. There's building infrastructure in Saudi Arabia, and sparing and testing as well as part of the case.
And what first ship delivery is, walk us through what the delivery schedule is going to look like for all of the ships, all 4 of the ships.
So the first ship starts construction at the end of this fiscal year. It's a 3-ish year sequence to build those ships. All the ships then are in series after that through 2025. And with each of those ships, we're training the crews for each of those ships, providing them with ordnance, et cetera, et cetera.
And the program will be wrapped up roughly by when for all 4 of those ships? And also talk to us about options, because there is discussion about whether or not it could go up to an 8-ship buy.
Absolutely. So 2025, 2026 would be about the end of the effort after the ship deliveries, the post-deliveries, and getting them over in country. There's been some discussion. There was actually a memorandum of intent signed for 4 additional ships back in 2017. Not a lot of discussion of that lately, but it's something we'd certainly be interested in, and I think something that would be good for the Royal Saudi Navy forces. We're also looking at other customers. As you've said, somebody had to go first. This was the first international sale of an LCS. That means something to us as to what we think of as our product line and its attractiveness to international customers for security cooperation agreements. So somebody will be next. It took us a long time to get this deal done with the Royal Saudi Naval Forces. We're talking with a number of countries at present, and we're looking forward to having a deal with one of them as well. We offer ships that are based on the littoral combat ship, so they're modular reconfigurable ships. They can do a variety of different missions, and we keep developing systems to go onto those ships that can be available to a foreign customer. Or in the case of the multi-mission surface combatant for the Saudis, we permanently install those to the specific requirements of the country. So we think we have a very adaptable product here that we've shown with LCS and the multi-mission surface combatant.
Training. Talk to us a little bit about training, because the crews are training in the United States as you establish shore facilities and facilities over, in Saudi Arabia. Talk to us a little bit about how you guys are training.
Absolutely. We're training the Royal Saudi Naval Forces crews like we would train a U.S. crew. We bring them to the United States, we get their English language proficiency up, we give them functional skills training, and then we train them on the LCS through courses the U.S. sailors would go through as well. This is one of the things I think that made the case so attractive to the Saudis is they recognize the United States does good shipbuilding, we do good training, we do good logistics, and they wanted all that out on the case. So we have pipelines for all the officers, all the enlisted, for the maintainers as well, moving those through courses across the United States. Then it will home port the ships during post-delivery in Mayport, Florida, which is where we'll have the crews as well, have a trainer down there off ship, get them on their ship, get their ship ready to go, and get them sailed away to the Saudi Arabia.
And do they serve as a training cadre, or do all the crews train here, or do they go back home to the infrastructure you're setting up in Saudi Arabia to train future crews?
We're going to train, for the first 4 crews, we're going to train all of them in the United States. So they'll all be here trained just like U.S. crews. All the crew, ship 1 will go with ship 1, the crew with ship 2, et cetera, et cetera. They certainly have the opportunity to train other Saudi folks back in Saudi Arabia.
And do you expect any, there are concerns about Saudi Arabia, obviously, in the wake of the whole Khashoggi incident and some pressure on arms sales. Is there anything that stops this, given I think the Saudis have already paid for, or payments are in train now? I mean, is there anything politically that could happen that it would interfere with the deal?
Interesting way of wording the question. I don't talk politics. I can say that the case has been congressionally notified and approved several years ago at this point, and so we don't see anything getting in the way of delivering the ships to the Saudis. Yes, the case has been funded, and yes, funds have started to flow. There's a payment plan associated with that, and so no, I don't see anything politically getting in the way of that.
And I've been covering the LCS program since it was born, and each year was going to be the year of LCS in terms of getting up on the deployment cycle. There are folks who are saying, look, this is going to be the big year when the deployments really start to crank out. Do you think that that's going to help in your sales and marketing efforts? Because there's still this sense that the ship is, building up in piers, whether on the East Coast or on the West Coast, but they're actually not in a standard deployment cycle at this point. How important do you think getting to that deployment cycle is to your efforts to get these ships into the hands, or to get more marketing interest or more sales interest in the platform?
More deployments is more better, if I could use that English here. I'm a plank holder in the LCS program. I was with the program from the very beginning. I think it's a quality ship, and I stand behind it. But absolutely, the more the world gets to see the LCS and how that size class works particularly well for some nations, the more I think it will be of interest to international customers.
And who do you see as your competition on this platform, right? As you look out there, is it the German frigates? Is it the French? Who do you see as your real competitor for it? Because it's a little bit of a hybrid. It's very much a hybrid in many cases.
Sure, and in some cases a niche. All of those, and there are a number of European craft that could be viewed as competition. I don't think of it as a competition. I work for the government. That's not partly how we view the world. We have a product. If folks are interested in that product, we'd be happy to have discussions with them.
Do you any interest in the Austal version of the ship? I mean, obviously, there are 2 versions. They will be built in equal numbers. We'll see, certainly for the first 26 of the 52 ship program, the remaining 26 will be in the frigate variant, although Austal and its partner General Dynamics is in there just as much as Lockheed Fincantieri are in there. Any interest in the Austal size ship? Because it's always been a sense that Pacific Powers, for example, might be a little bit more interested in that larger flight deck variant of the ship.
Yes, there's been interest in both variants of the LCS. Each of our children we love individually. They both have strengths and weaknesses to an international audience. Yes, there's interest, and yes, we'd be happy to sell either of them. Both of them are modular, and so reconfigurable to a customer's needs. Both of them could have permanently installed equipment as well. I could see as well, like you're saying, some of the Pacific countries particularly well suited.
Todd Tompkins, the program manager for International Surface Combatants at the Naval Sea Systems Command. Thanks very much, and best of luck. And so how soon do you think you might be able to announce another buyer now that the first one is out? That's my parting question.
FMS is hard. It took us about a decade to get to this point with the Saudis, so It is a difficult one to say. I would not want to place bets on that.
Very good. Well, we'll just stay tuned until you have an announcement to make. Todd, thanks very much.
Thank you, sir.